Hello and welcome to Law and Order SVU here on FANVERSATION. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe. If you're listening to us on a podcast, I hope you're subscribed wherever you're listening to your podcast. I'm Yael Tygiel. I'm joined as always by Felicia Michelle. Hello, Felicia.
Hello, ladies.
Hello, and of course, the birthday girl herself, Taylor Gates, is here. Hello, Taylor.
Hello. No better way to spend my birthday than with you all.
I'm so honored that you are joining us on your birthday to talk about SVU.
Wouldn't miss it for anything.
Obviously. Wouldn't even miss it for your birthday.
No, who cares about that? Come on, priorities here.
Well, before we jump into season 22, episode 10, welcome to the Pedo Motel. I feel like I should welcome you all to the Pedo
Motel.
Cannot. Yes.
That title makes me think of someone with like those little bellhop hats and like the uniform and like at the worst, cringiest hotel with like spider webs and like eyeballs in the mint jar, like something like that.
Yeah, welcome to the Crackhead Motel. Anyway, before we jump into the episode, as a reminder, if you are in a situation and you need help, please reach out to RAINN. Their number is 1-800-656-4673. 1-800-656-4673. Taylor, birthday girl, what does that spell?
It spells hope.
It does spell hope. And so does RAINN. They spell hope.
Yes.
Please reach out to them. Before we jump in, I'm telling you now, I already have some offensive things listed in my notes. So be prepared. This show sometimes goes dark. This episode deals with assault, deals with race issues, does deal with hate groups. So please be prepared. Consider this your content warning that we will be making some jokes that may not sit well depending on where you are in life. And now you know. The more you know. Imagine that logo.
Yeah, for real.
I did it. All right. Here's the quick cap for season 22, episode 10. The SVU must contend with an angry neighborhood watch group when a girl goes missing near a building that houses several sex offenders. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's start with the overall question. What did you think of the episode? Did you like it? We'll start with Felicia.
I enjoyed it. Like I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like it was good to me. I was like, okay, maybe I think maybe by comparison to some other episodes that we had this season, like maybe this just made me excited because it felt a little bit more like, you know, the traditional SVU type of tempo. So I enjoyed it, but I think I might be by myself in that. You guys, look how you guys are looking at me. Oh my God.
Taylor?
It was not for me, and that's fine. I'm glad it was for you because we have different tastes in episodes, and that's great. And they give us a little buffet, and we pick our favorites, and that's wonderful. We need something for everyone. I just think they tried to do so much, but also not enough, if that makes sense. Like, it felt like they were throwing so many people and characters in, but it also wasn't like the crazy twists and like absurdity. Like, there were moments of absurdity, but then it didn't like really go anywhere. So if we're gonna call this Welcome to the Pedo Motel, I feel like we should be focusing on more of the people in there. Instead, we have like a biker gang, we have a parole officer, like we have just so many other random people too. Then I'm like, we should have focused in because this was a really interesting sort of concept that I feel like we kind of just threw in. And it could have been a lot more interesting if we like capitalized on that and like really dug into like these motels and like do these programs work? Because Olivia would bring up some lines about like, oh, statistically, like they're rehabilitated. But I'm like, we didn't even like really go into that. And I feel like we should have.
I really agree with Taylor on this one. This was not my favorite episode. I feel like every reveal was addressed as though it was a twist, and it wasn't. And I agree. The title is so good. Like, Welcome to the Pedo Motel is such a like, I gotta watch this. What the hell is happening?
It's like almost offensive, which like some of the best SVU episodes, I'm like, yeah, this is probably like should be the name of an episode, but the fact that it is like, you might as well just go all in.
Exactly. And the fact that, first of all, like deal with pedophiles is odd, right? Like,
Right.
give me a
At
motel full of
all.
pedophiles. Let's deal with that. And so I agree. I think also the biker gang, and then the fact that the biker gang didn't do it is like even wilder. Like, why are you going to introduce this hate group and then have them not be involved?
Well,
That's
I mean,
so,
they kind of were a little bit like indirectly, like these
right.
people did this to impress them, so kinda, but not really. They don't even do drugs or damn allow beer in there, so they're probably not
That was a good line.
murdering.
Yeah, so our story starts with Saranda, who goes missing. First we meet Lonnie, who it's unclear for a bit what the deal is with Lonnie. I like it. I do like that we have an understanding, or like a basic understanding, so like we are supposed to suspect him, kind of, right? Like,
And I will say,
yeah,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But like an element of this episode I did like is I do like when we have these cold opens where we like follow one person throughout the day, or like have, because like Dreams Deferred is one of my favorites with Patricia Arquette, and they did that so well in that episode where we like follow her throughout her day and then something crazy happens like at the end of it. And so I do like when they have those openings where it's like we kind of see what goes down, or like meet a character and like what their daily life is like. I think that's always cool. So I did appreciate that in this episode.
yeah. So with Lonnie, I want to give a shout out to actor Mark Kane, who played Lonnie, because there's the part where he's like getting dressed to leave and he looks at himself in the mirror, and you can see that he like struggles to look at himself in the mirror, which I feel like tells you so much about this character, right? Like, he knows that he did something wrong and has this trouble looking at himself, which I think is so interesting. For those listening to the audio podcast, there were air quotes on the did something wrong. So because I realized without it, I just sound like an asshole. So I think it's so interesting that we have that, and then seeing how people react to him is fascinating. And I just really enjoyed the beginning of this and getting to meet Lonnie, and then dealing with the story of Lonnie and Finn. Like, that also was very weird, because Finn, I'm jumping way later. Finn is like, I assumed that he was guilty, and I should have known out of everyone how many good kids who look like him get done wrong. And then he feels guilty and he's like, this was my fault. And I'm going to be honest. Yes, Finn. Yeah. He's like, he didn't trust me. Of course he didn't trust you. You treated him like shit.
Right. But if we're going to throw that in there, why not make this like a Finn-centric episode? You know what I mean? Like, it just felt like we didn't go in hard enough on any of the aspects. We just kind of brushed the surface of all of them. Because Finn is so interesting. Like, he is a fully developed character, but I love getting more pieces of him because, like, he is very, like, leaves the job at the job, like, is obviously hesitant to be really emotional, like we've seen with Phoebe before. And so I think that would have been so cool to like have this be almost like a character study of him, but we like only got little pieces of it, which it was I felt like was a missed opportunity.
Yeah. Felicia, you look like you had something you wanted to add.
No, I can kind of see what you guys are saying, but I'm just like kind of taking it for what it is right now. We've just gotten in this past season some episodes that are, I would say, not my favorite. And I think that it was the pacing of the show that I really enjoyed, because it's very much like their rubric of how they write and compose the cadence of the story in SVU. But there were things that I didn't like about the episode. Like, I enjoyed watching it, but the things that I don't like is that there were missed opportunities so many times on the way. It's like there was a cake, right? And they were like racism, misogyny, hate groups. And it was like, okay, you put all these different flavors together in this one big old cake, but like, what is it giving? Like, what are you trying to say more or expand more in this? I do think that ultimately how this all ended up with with this girl's father setting this young man up, I think that part was very interesting. But I think maybe a lot that was interesting. Like, the overall story, like if I just told somebody the story, like, oh, it was about this guy who got set up by this girl's dad, and it was based on hate, and the other things based on hate happened. Okay. But to watch it as like a viewer, or consistently watching it, and also like as a world citizen who's experiencing what's actually happening. Again, I think we talked about this last week, just throwing those little tidbits in there really doesn't do anything. it doesn't do anything but makes people, I think, not really take it as seriously when it's in the episode. I mean, obviously this is entertainment, but I think a little bit of education was there. She did put in there a little bit to say, oh, hey, well, you know, actually these men have a low statistical level of, or chance of reoffending, you know, like that came up, but there were so many, yeah, there could have just been more done, especially because I thought they were going to focus more on him being labeled a sex offender, being a sex offender registry at such a young age, when he just had a relationship with somebody who is a peer, you know, but just by date of birth, he was an adult. So I thought they might talk more about that, or because that does happen to people. There are people that are on a sex offender registry who that is exactly their situation, and for many reasons, hate or otherwise, whatever. So I thought they would talk more about that, or maybe there were other kids that this guy did this to, or something. I don't know. There were missed opportunities. I kind of see what you guys are saying about that.
Absolutely. I also don't want to take away from how much you liked this episode. I don't want to change your mind.
Oh no, you did. Oh no, you didn't. I'm gonna watch it again. I enjoyed it. I watched it like 3 times. So like I liked it. Oh no, that's not gonna change it. But
great,
there's
great,
definitely, but I think this is a something ongoing in this entire season, a bit of last season too, where you're missing opportunities to really fully explain something. Like,
yeah,
or give it the just time that it deserves. Maybe not even explain it, but give it the time it deserves.
Absolutely, right? Like this episode brings up a lot of different issues, right? As we keep saying, Benson said, sex offenders on the registry have the lowest recidivism rate. Give me more facts on that. Had Isabel continued to host with us, we would have Isabel's Info Corner, which is a segment we used to do where she would tell us all about the lowest recidivism rates. I did not do that research. But I would love you to do it. Go for it. We also have in the Pedo Motel, which is what everyone's calling it, we do have sex offenders of all different styles, all different flavors. I don't know what to call them.
That was a little confusing. That was a lot confusing. Because like, what did the guy with the...
Go on.
Who's your favorite? Because I think we'll be the same person.
Everyone knows who my favorite is. My favorite's the Chubby Chaser, and I'm going to explain why. Because first of all, we don't even know what he did.
Sorry, I'm snoring.
That's what I think is wild, is that we have these people. He specifically didn't even tell us what his crime was, so we do not know what he did. I have my own assumptions, but he did not tell us what he did.
I'm sure we all do.
But that said, I loved these characters because we do have, you know, and that is the other thing they could have talked about, is that sex offenders, there are different levels. There are different, they have like their own system and there are different rules, and that all these people living in this SRO together, you know, I assume this place is one of the few places that is affordable, that can house them, and that isn't near a school. Because if you're on the registry, you can't live near a school regardless of what you did. So I think that's also interesting and wasn't really addressed. Then we have the hate group, which I really like. He's a YouTuber and a community activist. I'm putting air quotes on that for sure. But he also is a white pride organization. You can't be, that's not community activism, and white pride don't seem, that's, I guess we know what community you're activating for. So,
yeah, no kidding.
And he's a YouTuber. Like that's, I think, what's the wild as far as that this YouTuber needs to come out and do a live show.
Yeah, why don't we have a whole episode about that? I mean, it looks like next week, not to get too deep, but our promo, but like, the YouTuber space, I love it when we go in and do like YouTuber stories. I think it's so funny, and I love the way they like work around like the brand names that they can't say. Like, yeah. I love it when they incorporate like the technology into it. So like, give me more of that. Like, pick a lane and like really go down that lane, and I'll be here for it. But I was trying to straddle so many stories.
Yeah. I also think the story, like I said, the story with Finn and Lonnie, and how Finn dealt with it and what he, you know, feels guilt for. I think that's so interesting, especially because we do talk about, there is the Romeo and Juliet law, and we've had episodes about that. I was just, season 1 was on the other day. So I was just watching an episode where this girl's talking about, she was in a relationship with a guy, he was 21, she was 15, and Stabler, season 1 Stabler was like, wait 3 years. What are you doing? She's not worth it. So the idea that we had this essentially a Romeo and Juliet situation that none of our team looked into, and that even Carisi says, one of my favorite lines, I'm bringing it out now because we're talking about it, is you'd be amazed how many statutory rapists use Shakespeare as a character witness.
Yeah.
But like 18 to 15, they went to the same high school, like they grew up together. Like what? How did they know each other? Because
Right.
18 to 15 tells me that they are in the same circles.
Mm-hmm. And if you literally you literally turned 18 that day, like you were 17 for a long time when you were together, probably. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, there's differing opinions, and I think it varies from like situation to situation sometimes too. But yeah, it's interesting, and like it would be. I know that we've had episodes, you know, that kind of have touched on that before, but I think this could have been a really interesting one too, because it's like people are almost weaponizing that law, even though they probably don't think there's anything actually wrong with it in terms of like, you know, because they're like in the same class maybe, you know, at school. So
yeah,
I mean, there was a lot that could have been done with that. Even more so, their difference in it being an interracial relationship. I mean, that being really the reason why all of this happened, because that does happen to a lot of Black men. In fact, that's like the thing in the community. It's like, hey, like, be careful, because if you want to have a relationship with a white woman, or you want to have a relationship with a white woman, you need to make sure that it is very much so like clearly consensual, like, because your future could be in jeopardy. I literally know people, not like just like, oh, I know of somebody, like I literally know people, multiple people that this has happened to, that they have been accused of something, lost a good portion of their life and their youth, and that time they can't get back, and then have been found to be not guilty of what they were accused of. And that's a thing. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with being in a relationship. You be with whoever you want to be with, except like a child or like an animal. But that is a thing, and it exists, and it happens. And there's a lot of people who still have really racist parents who really can't see past color or maybe religion, sexual orientation, and so on and so forth. I think that's still a real thing people don't really talk about, that people still have a problem with interracial relationships. Like they still have an issue. I don't know if y'all have ever dated. Did y'all have to get down with the swirl? Y'all don't have to tell me here. It's okay. Y'all don't have to tell me here.
It's a different show, Felicia.
Okay. All right. I just want to know. Inquiring minds. It's me. I'll ask later. Sorry that just popped up now. But go
Oh, Felicia.
Sorry.
We know I date all peoples. So
I like anyone who is in a business suit and
female.
A little scary. Yeah, and female.
You have a specific rule on there.
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, they have to be female, but beyond that, we're down for whatever.
Anyway, I want to talk a little bit about the brutal murder. Sorry to take this down, but like that, the way that they murdered Lonnie was so brutal, and I have to give it to the makeup team for what they did. It was vicious. Horrible. Yeah.
But that's the other thing. We like barely, like that is a clear cut and dry hate crime. Like the way that they did it, the like way that they tortured him. And I was like, for what? Like I understand, but we didn't even really go into the hate crime aspect of it either, which I felt like was like borderline disrespectful. Because if like you're gonna do that, that's like a really bold thing to put in there. Exactly. And it's like we didn't even really talk about it. Was like a blip, and then we went and talked about the girl again, the parole officer, whatever. So like that probably should be the center of the episode, and you need to make sure you're doing that respectfully, which I don't necessarily think they hit the mark on that. That's my opinion on it, but that's kind of what I felt when I was watching it.
Yeah. I think Finn makes the one comment, and then that was it. And they move on.
I'm trying to think if that, out of like, there have been a lot of brutal, obviously, deaths that we see of victims, but it's never like it's not usually possible suspects. And I'm trying to think, I don't know if anybody has, that's probably one of the worst deaths on the show, like one of the worst, if not the worst. Like it was a lot like done to him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would say, yeah, this is probably one of the worst. And then we have the fire, which is, to cover up the murder, which then takes us to Elvis's place, which is a waste of our time. Benson also forces her way in without a warrant, which I think is odd and not addressed.
Yeah.
So when he G-checked her shoulder. He did. He was like, he said, "Bitch, don't take another step in here." And then Finn's like, "I wouldn't try her." Like, what did he say? Oh, that was a good line. I think. What did he say? I'm gonna write it down.
All right, because I was like, "What, sir? All you have to say to her is, where's your warrant?"
They don't even have beer in there.
Right.
I like that line.
There's no probable cause.
I don't even allow beer in here.
Dude,
there's nothing wrong with loads of beer in here. Like, that's all we're looking for. Okay.
And then they have the gang squad installed the camera outside, which I really did. I think it was real funny that they told Carisi yeah, gang told us we couldn't tell them about it, and he's like, but didn't they tell you about it? And she's like, yeah. That's really great, and it makes sense.
Yeah, if you're gonna use an undercover car, don't fuel it up at the station.
Right.
Damn. He said it was his neighborhood, though. Nothing happened in it without him knowing about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that gets us to Eduardo, who has the picture of the body on his phone. What the?
There was a lot of one. Okay, this was a Law and Order SVU episode, yes, but it really gave a lot of First 48 vibes. Why are you snitching on yourself? Ask for your attorney. What are you doing? Why are you just telling everything? Make them work for this confession, this conviction. Don't just give it up. It's only a 48-hour hold. Shut your mouth up and just sit there for 48 hours. Chill.
Everybody snitched. Everybody snitched.
Have to get Taru to get anything off the phone. It was just there as if he was taking a selfie. Bro, be smarter than this. You're not even a good criminal. You're
Daryl in the chat says criminals are stupid. It is known.
Facts.
There are some dumb criminals. Yeah,
I just don't understand. Everybody snitched on everybody, right? Eduardo switched on Louis and Juan, who want to be in Elvis's gang, and I'm gonna just say this. I'm going to make an assumption here that at least Juan and Eduardo are not the type of people that Elvis, who runs a white pride group, wants in his organization.
Yeah,
I'm just going to guess.
I think that's actually coming from real life. I'm assuming that Elvis's group is supposed to be a replica of the Proud Boys, and they do have some Latino members of the Proud Boys. They do have people who are a part of that organization that are of that ethnicity. So when I saw that they were doing that, and when I saw all that, I was like, oh, they must be trying to say that they're the Proud Boys.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, then go into that. I want to know about that. There's so many things that are just split it up and focus, because this is very interesting. But we're just brushing it.
Here's Elvis. Who's Elvis?
Elvis Presley.
And then it takes us to, right, so we're done with them, which gets us to Eduardo killed this innocent man, was set up. Lonnie was set up the whole time, and that leads us all to Eastman, who is the parole officer, father of
stepdad. You ain't even the real dad. You the dad that stepped up. Come on, get out of here.
Stepdad of McKenna. I was like, what was that name? McKenna.
There's a lot of names to keep track of, to be fair.
And then the whole thing was that, and then oof. Okay, so then we've got Antonio, who is a familial match to the guy who killed Saranda.
Yeah.
For what?
For
what purpose?
Because Eastman is Antonio's parole officer and was like, I'm going to send you back to prison if you don't frame this other guy. So Antonio asks his half-brother, Sam, to do it.
And no good deed goes unpunished.
Right. And then they all
the good deed being murder.
They all snitch.
They do.
No, the best is when he's in the car. It's when he's in the car and he's ducked down like this and he like, which one is it? He's like, it looks like whenever you got bullied and your mom was like, who did it? Who did it? Where they at? I'm like, over there. That's how he looked. You know, in the white jersey.
All right, so that's the main story of the episode. Other stuff also happened. Let's talk about the other stuff.
Sure.
All right, so first of all, Carisi has a girlfriend. That's some big news.
Honestly,
People are mad. I'm happy. Because Caldoon's back.
Mm-hmm.
Caldoon's back.
Oh, we'll talk about Caldoon in a second.
Yes. Carisi, someone else. Yes. Carisi Rollins, no. No for me.
Yeah. So we'll talk about.
I just knew I was going to say, who do you guys think he's on the phone with? Y'all were going to be like, Barbara.
I would appreciate it, but they need to step up and make it happen. Okay.
I don't know you why guys are on this shit by yourself.
We are not by ourselves.
True. That's not true.
The internet's behind us.
In this group, well.
You're on your own little ship.
I'll say this. For whatever reason, I don't know why I thought that he was on the phone with a girl. So not Barbara. But he and Barbara are on the outs right now.
I assumed it was a female friend too, especially because he tried to like say, "Hey, by the way," like he tried to like, "Hey, like."
Yeah. But let's talk about Caldoon for a second, who got transferred to homicide 2 weeks ago, which makes me think we'll see more of him. But also, I got really annoyed with his behavior in the first scene we see him in. Not because of the coffees, I think that was wonderful, but when he like tells the Emmy what to do, and the Emmy is like, "Oh, thanks. I wouldn't have thought of that." I loved that because then he continues to tell our team what to do, and I was like, "Don't tell Rollins what to do."
Listen up, freshman. Okay, you just got here. You are not even on the squad. Like that's
and you just agreed. SVU is taking lead on this. She was like, I thought SVU was taking lead. And he said they are. 1PP wanted someone with ties to the Muslim community. That's why I'm here. Great. So then sit back and let the adults take charge.
Yeah, because it wasn't necessary. Like, we weren't talking about anything that had to like do with the Muslim community. That's where you're here to consult. Okay. Otherwise, you stick it back.
That was
whatever. I'm glad he was here. He can do what he wants. I'm gonna give him a pass because I like him.
I mean, look, I love him. I want a shout out to Yael Tygiel. Like, yes, join the team officially. We would love that. I don't see that happening since he is also a sergeant and Finn is a sergeant, and we can't have two sergeants. But
true.
I would like to see more of him.
Yes, agreed.
Especially with Rollins.
I just thought about something.
Yes.
So a lot of times in this episode, this young woman is Muslim. We meet the chaplain. We know, like, it's confirmed that like she's a Muslim young lady. But in all of the hoopla, they kept
call her
calling
white.
her white. They keep calling her white, and I was like, she's not white. Like, I didn't look at this character and be like, oh yeah, she's like, I didn't think she was white. When
you should have been in my house as we watched the episode.
It
was a lot of us shouting, no.
No, like, how are you just gonna keep saying that she's white when she's clearly that she's not white? She's has fair skin, but she's not Caucasian. That was weird.
Right.
It was very weird. It was.
And if we're gonna make the final line, they did this because of hate. Like, that should probably also play a role in it, right? And it didn't really. I mean, it did with Lonnie, very obviously. But like,
I mean, maybe it highlights something,
connected.
right? Like,
as my roommate said, as my roommate said, he said to Finn, to the TV, he goes, "Oh, thank you for explaining that to a Black family and a Muslim family."
Exactly.
He would have had to be the one to do it, though. He would have had to been the character to do it. Anybody else, it would been kind of patronizing.
Right, but they didn't know that already? They weren't aware?
Right.
No, seriously though. But maybe there was a point to this, right? So if you think about it, people can be whatever ethnicity that they want, that they are, but they might be perceived to be another ethnicity. Like, I don't know. Someone might just look at Yael, I'm like, oh, just, I don't know, she's white. I saw her walking down, she was white. Like, people, but Lonnie's character does not have that privilege to be assumed to be anything else besides exactly what he is. That's interesting that they kept calling her Caucasian.
It was very odd. It was very odd, especially because they like really made a point to talk about how diverse this neighborhood is, right? Like, oh, I think honestly, I started laughing so hard at the fortune cookie being run by Orthodox Jews. Like, that makes sense. That does make sense.
Like, they're not answering the phone.
I mean, it was Saturday. They're definitely not answering the phone. Of course, they make the fortune cookies. But yeah, I think they made a point to be like, this is a diverse neighborhood. You know, we've got Muslims living here. We've got Orthodox Jews living here. We've got Black people living here. We have all sorts of people living in this neighborhood. But we're going to keep referring to her incorrectly. It's an interesting choice. Other things we need to talk about, as we have said, we will not be discussing organized crime, but we will 100% be addressing any coverage that crosses over anything that happens. Oh, I did not make a banner for it, but let's talk about the Stabler of it all. Because if you watch the second episode of Organized Crime, Benson does appear. Also, Carisi talks to Benson about Stabler in this episode. So Carisi says, I don't know if it's the healthiest thing for him to be investigating his own wife's murder. And Benson accurately goes, do you want to tell him that?
Right.
Which, like, I think that's another, you know, thing about Stabler. Like, oh, we can't even tell him something that is a fact? Okay. He's not going to react well? I see. Sure, let's let him stay on the force and carry a weapon. And then, you know, what went on with him when he broke into your interrogation room, people are looking into that. And Carisi reminds her that he has her back, just to be careful. And then on Organized Crime, we have a very quick scene for those who didn't watch it. Benson is in the car with Stabler for a second, and she's worried about him. She talks about the end of the episode 1, where his behavior was erratic. And she says, I think you have PTSD, to which he bursts out laughing, which honestly, that interaction felt very perfect for me. And he tells her to drop it and to stay out of it. That's all you've missed. You've been caught up.
We'll see. It's so in character, like, her being like, listen, buddy, like,
right. I'm worried
you're
about
going
you.
through something.
She definitely knows something is up, though.
Yeah.
She knows something is up. Even beyond the PTSD and beyond him losing Kathy, she knows, you know, it's like, no offense, but men are such simple creatures. And once you really understand the psychology of one, pretty much doesn't change too much. So she, even despite a decade of not speaking, I know you, I know how you work. Like, I know that there's some part of this that's missing. I'm addressing this with you, that you need to handle your situation, like with your PTSD and losing your wife. But you also got something else going on. But yeah, he definitely told her to back up. She's like, I'll back off if you want me to. He was like, yeah, back off.
As Sarah says, you mean the world to me, but back off.
She's not going to back off. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Of course not. But as we said, we will continue to bring up as that story continues, but not necessarily talk about what's going on over on Organized Crime. I will admit that the second episode got me, and that I will continue watching the season.
Woo!
Yeah, second episode so much better than the first.
Is this the same woman who said that she was not going to watch it week by week, but instead maybe she'll binge watch it at the end?
I did say that. And I watched the second episode because of actually a press conference that I will tell you all about in just a bit. And the second episode sold me, and I'm here for it.
I'm excited to watch it. I think I'm going to watch it on Hulu because, like, my attention span is this long. And so when I watch it live, the commercials, like, I forget what's happened without, like, taking notes. And I'm not going to take notes if I don't have to talk about it. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But I will watch it next day, Hulu, so I can watch it all the way through without interruption.
Yeah, perfect. Well, let's get into our favorite lines from the episode. I'm gonna start because I don't want you to take this line from me. The line is said by Frank. It is, I'm no pedophile. I like triple plus size senior ladies like my late Aunt Rose.
Are you not going to finish his monologue? He said so many other interesting
There,
things.
yeah,
that's
I
the
got
part.
Frank down too.
That was the part that got me. What you got?
I just don't. Oh, well, I guess I'll stay on the Frank beat. It's when he says that he was home, killing roaches, eating chips, and drinking grape soda.
I wrote that one too.
I want Frank's story. That is the episode we need. Is what did Frank do?
No, seriously, because it's like if you have a preference that you like fuller figured women, that's not a crime. Like that doesn't make you like.
No, I agree.
A sex offender.
I will say this. This is really, I think this is the most important thing I'm going to say the whole episode. Triple plus size isn't a thing. That's not a thing. Triple plus size is not a thing. Plus size is a thing. There are different labels for different sizes of plus size, but triple plus size isn't it. That's not one of the labels because that does not make sense.
No.
It's just very upsetting. Also, he would know the term BBW. Like that's the thing is this man of all people is going to know BBW. And if for whatever reason they're not allowed to say the words BBW on TV because of standards or you know, whatever, in terms of it like being offensive or racy language, then he could say big, beautiful women and everyone would go, got it. He likes BBWs. Like,
right.
I don't understand why they chose to create a new title. It's just a minor thing.
That doesn't exist.
It's not a thing.
The picture also doesn't look triple plus size to me.
Oh, not
if that
at all.
were a thing.
The picture that he was running his finger down.
Yeah, that was a plus model, which means that she is a size 12.
Right.
Which is the lowest
triple.
end of plus.
Right. I'm going to stay on that because I think we just need to say the whole monologue. When he said dissolve into them like a waterbed so the world disappears, I said, that's poetry. I said, Shakespeare who? That was hilarious and like, what a time, what a guy. Staying with our Pedo Motel residents, the fact that he was watching the Bad News Bears just really hit me for some reason. I was like, what a choice. Like, what a choice.
I get it. I totally, that was not a surprise to me.
I literally just didn't even think about that because I'm like, I love that movie. Like,
girl, honestly, it's one of the things, one of the best parts of the episode is when they're ruling out the sex offenders by their preferences. I think that should have been where we started. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
the fact that he's praying to St. Anthony was like a lot.
Tell us, is St. Anthony a special?
His hands, like with the
St. Anthony, I know of. I went to Catholic school, and it was the person that you prayed to if you lost something. But he could be the patron saint of like something else too that I just don't know. But it's usually like if you lose something, you're like, oh, St. Anthony, help me find my shoe or whatever is like what you usually say.
He's trying to find his way.
Thank you, and there you go, exactly. Finally, the other line I liked was I forget his name. There were so many names, but he was like, it was an accident, so it's not really murder, right?
Oh
no,
Antonio's brother, right?
Yeah.
Sam. Here's what Sam said.
Not what that means.
Wait.
What did Sam
you missed
say?
my favorite part that he said. He says, I begged her to chill, but she wouldn't stop. So I grabbed a brick and hit her to get her to stop.
That's rational. That's a rational choice.
I begged, please chill. You're not gonna stop talking?
Someone for your
Let me
Please chill.
hit you upside the head. What?
Oh
no, just chill.
There was one more that it was good too. It was Eastman when Olivius went to step in. He was like, "You made a mistake, like asking God for balls. You meant dolls or something like that." He like
Elvis
said
it.
Pretty sexist to her. Oh wait, Elvis.
Elvis said it when she
Eastman is the PO. There was a lot of people in this episode. And y'all know I was never
really
good with names.
Look, I deliberately.
I had the E.
You did. I chose to write down all these names because I realized that we should be better at this. But there were a lot of names this episode. Speaking of some of our favorite pedophiles, Manny is the pedophile who is praying and watching Bad News Bears. And I have to give this shout out to Stephen Marcus, who is a repeat offender. And I'm pretty sure I called him out on the last time that he was a repeat offender. So this is him again, because he was in Dear Ben, which is the episode with Stone's dad's case.
Yep.
He was the guy who ran the store that had the memorabilia of the serial killer.
I was wondering why he looked so familiar. I think he looks really familiar.
Yeah, he was
I thought maybe I'd seen him in other projects.
Nope, just this show probably. He was also in an episode called Privilege and Pixies from season 2, which I believe was my first episode ever.
Cute. That's the one with the gymnast, right?
Yes.
Amazing.
So yeah, repeat offender deserves credit for sure.
Love that for him.
All right. Now I want to tell you all about, before we move on to the weekly poll, I want to tell you about some show news because I got this amazing opportunity to participate in a press conference about organized crime with Chris Maloney, Dick Wolf, and Eileen Chaikin, who is the showrunner of Organized Crime. If you want to check out the entire thing, there's a link in the description below, or if you're listening to the audio podcast, there's a link in the description there. But the big takeaway, last week we talked about the concept of fridging, of killing off a character, a wife or girlfriend or female character to move a male character's story forward. And the big takeaway that I found in that press conference is that either Dick Wolf and Eileen Chaikin are unfamiliar with this trope or do not care, because someone deliberately asked them about it. And apparently Dick Wolf was not aware that there was controversy or any backlash. And Eileen Chaikin said that this was planned before she got to the show, because if you may remember over the summer, she was not the original showrunner. That showrunner, I believe, pulled a gun on protesters and was let go from the show.
Well, yeah.
I remember that happening.
That'll do it.
So anyway, so that the decision to kill Kathy was already part of the plan before Eileen got involved, but she stands by it and thinks that it was the right choice to make.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you would like to read more about that, the article is below. Yep. But they also did talk a little bit about the crossing over of the two shows and that they're going to make it only happen when it feels necessary and makes sense, because otherwise they would just make a show.
Right.
So they're going to keep doing that. And what it seems like for Organized Crime, what they're doing is it is, as we know, a full story, but each episode will have its own little procedural storyline.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, which is what kind of got me okay with it in the second episode.
Yeah,
I will also
like
say that a character we loved from the first episode, the hacker girl, is staying, and so that is very exciting as well.
I also need to say that she has the funniest Twitter account I've ever seen in my life.
Awesome.
Just so you all are aware, because I wasn't until a couple days ago, and then I was like, I would love to be best friends with you. Like, let's make it happen.
All right, so Taylor's birthday wish, make her and Taylor best friends.
Please.
What's her at?
It's Ainsley something.
Ainsley, yeah.
Ainsley.
She's amazing. I love her.
Yeah. All right. So here on S Review, we do a weekly poll. Taylor, tell us all about it.
We sure do. Last week we asked you guys who you would want to see come back, like who of the OGs, and the results were very interesting to me. In last place with 11.1% of the vote is Brian Cassidy, which is
how
shocking.
Dare you?
It wasn't me. It was
all
the
of not you. All of you.
Ask
I'm
the
talking
81
to
people
people
who voted.
So rude.
That's crazy to me. In third place, we have Monique Jeffries, 13.6% of the vote.
Also, how dare you?
Also, how dare you? Second place, we have our boy John Munch with 33.3% of the votes. Classic, we love him. And Cragen is first with 42% of the votes, which, I mean, I agree. I love Cragen, but that is shocking to me. I thought you guys would be here for the drama of Brian Cassidy coming back. But no, you're like, I just want Cragen. I want to feel safe. And I respect that.
That's wild. I think you're all wrong. Not just because I think Cassidy and Benson, like I want more of that storyline, but because Jeffries deserves so much better. I'm gonna stop hitting the table. I'm sorry about that audio wise. I'm just so frustrated. Jeffries deserves so much better. She got screwed over so badly in season 1. And I would love to see where that character is and have her come back and talk to Benson about the fact that like they were the only women on the team and should have had each other's back. I just can't believe it. Anyway, so
No,
you're
I
all
get
wrong.
that.
Go on.
I know, I completely get that. I'm shocked, but we love Cragen, like we do. Today the poll is: what's your favorite episode that premiered on my birthday or that we're talking about on my birthday? Because there's exactly 4 and it's perfect. And I couldn't think of anything else. So here we go. The options are Justice Denied, which is season 13, episode 17. That's the one with like the scarf and Hayden's there. And Olivia is like, oh my gosh, I think I put the wrong person in jail. That's a good episode. That one's winning by a lot right now.
Oh, wow.
But that could change. We also have Service, which is season 19, episode 18. That is not winning at all. It has 0% of the vote. But it's like the military guy who, like, they're trying to block them from investigating because it's like the military. I'm not doing a good job explaining. Yael's always better. But
Is this the one with the actor who played Jason from True Blood? Is that one?
Or is this the one with the trans actor where it turned out one of the guys was trans?
It could be. I don't think it's either.
Girl, which one is it? There have been plenty of military ones.
Was the one where she was like a ranger or
no, that's
It's not the Shuri.
That's a good one.
I'll tell you that.
Oh, but is it the one with the ranger who like she was in a fight club? Girl, there are a lot of military ones.
Yeah, there's a lot of military.
I tried to look it up, but this was
like. Which one is it? I'll tell you which one it is.
Tell me right now.
What's the number?
Oh, Service, season 19, episode 18. Listen, I'm sorry. I didn't think you were gonna.
There were a lot of military.
Give me one sec.
Like good ones.
I know. This one wasn't very. This one I don't think was very popular.
Yes. Okay. So this is the one with the trans actor. This is the one where
that was pretty good.
It turned out. So this girl, I believe she was an escort. She was assaulted by 3 different people. And because one of them was young and a virgin, and so they used her.
Yes.
This was during Stone's years. Yep. Okay, go on.
Okay, sorry, guys.
It's okay. You can't do anything wrong. It's your birthday.
That's true.
Exactly. I was like, listen, I thought I could just give a description and you'd be like, sure. I didn't know I had to know the details of the nitty. I didn't know what they said the fifth line of the episode. It's
that I always tell us these details. I go, this is who the guest star was.
Well, you didn't look these up. Okay, I did.
You're right. You're
gonna let me take control of this.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
We also have The Good Girl, season 20, episode 20. That is the one. I mean, this is again gonna feel generic, but it's the girl who she like blames the teacher, but it was actually her stepdad, and she was married to her stepdad. It turns out
such a good one.
Whack. And then of course we have this one, which we just talked about. So we'll tell you where to find that in a second. And if one of you wants to do a little book report on Service, so I remember it, feel free to drop that in the comments.
Are all of these episodes from the last 5 years?
Yeah, none of them premiered before season 13. I like literally looked on IMDb last night, like scrolling through. So,
wow.
But the fact that there's 3 is kind of a lot, I feel like.
I'm just impressed that it's only recent ones. Because Good Girl, I remember us talking about. Like season 20, I remember.
Me too. But it's interesting because I looked on IMDb for all of the dates, and they used to just like not not air in April. It used to go from March and then do like an April hiatus and then May, which is like kind of
Well,
random.
of course, because May sweeps. That's when they got to get their ratings up, so they take a little break. Before we tell you where to find that, I want to give some shout outs to people who are live in our chat. We have Laya, who is saying happy birthday to Taylor.
Thank you, Laya.
Zach, who is saying,
Zach.
oh, I froze. I froze.
Okay. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
Zach says happy birthday. I'm trying to be sweet and I froze.
It's okay.
Am I back?
I love it.
You're back. You're here.
Okay,
You're
cool.
back.
Okay, cool. All right, we had another one. Oh, there was another one. It was from Sarah. Says happy birthday, Taylor. I split it.
Taylor. Thank you, Sarah.
I'm splitting it. We got both. Yeah, Daryl's also here in the chat. We've got lots of people. Thank you so much for everyone who's joining us in the chat who's here live. I apologize for me freezing. What else do I need to tell you before we wrap things up? Oh, we need to tell you, what did we learn?
Wow.
If you're watching us live, be prepared to tell us what you learned as well.
Please. I have something
so we can
stupid,
cheat.
So I'll go.
Is it that triple plus size is not a thing? Go on.
No, I knew that. I thought that was ridiculous. I learned that I wanted like a little sketch, but the pizza looked good from the pizzeria. So I learned that I'm craving pizza. Let's be honest.
I love it. I love it. Felicia, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go.
Okay. So at the beginning of the episode, they talk about the fact that these people live in SRO. And I had never heard the term SRO. And so I was like, oh, interesting. And the next sentence after they're like, oh, the SRO in the corner, Olivia says SOs are on the registry are the lowest recidivism rate. And I went, oh, SO is sex offenders. That makes sense. So what is SRO? Not related. An SRO is a single room occupancy, and it is a place that is a like small room that has like a bed and a desk, and it is for people who can't afford apartments, and it's kind of like dorm style,
like Hey Arnold, like the boarding house.
I mean, I guess kind of like a boarding house, but it's specifically for like people who are unhoused or are low income, which that's
definitely a boarding house.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
That it's SRO and SO, yet they're not related. That was really like kind of throwing me off.
Yeah, I was like, okay, SO, I've put together sex offender, like got it. But I was
not
like,
significant other.
What is SO like sex?
Well, SRO is also a school resource officer. So when I heard that, I was like, SRO, I was like, no, they're not talking about school resource officer. They can't. This is not that.
That came up so many times before I figured out what it actually was supposed to mean. So that was wild, but you know, that I actually learned something. So that's cool.
I love that.
So earlier when I was talking about my theory that BBW couldn't be said on TV, Daryl said it wouldn't surprise me if they couldn't say BBW. So
why,
I'm gonna go
why?
Because it's a porn search term. Because
There's
when you
yeah, but when you're
a porn search term. The only people who know are people who are searching. So what you mad for?
This is also SVU. They say everything. Like they have to. They talk about porn all the time.
Somebody's genitals are mutilated. Excuse me. In this episode, we could have said BBW.
Right. Come on.
I'm just guessing that's why they chose to come up with their own term. Because again, triple plus size not a thing. Yeah.
What are the qualifications to be triple plus size?
Was it supposed to be like triple X? Like triple, like triple X is porn, means porn. So I don't know.
I mean, it could have been the idea that they meant triple X, like
Google
triple XL, like 3X. Okay.
No.
But it's probably not going to come up, but that's not a real thing.
Look, I'm telling you, triple plus size not a thing. Anyway, what did you learn, Felicia?
Nothing. I mean, I want to have learned something. I know usually I'm very like really like introspective and like really deep with it. But like
It
this
doesn't have to
episode,
be.
it didn't.
I literally said I want
that's just
pizza.
me. It's just me. I don't know. I truly didn't learn anything. I don't want to be a liar.
All right. Well, Sarah says, I learned Liv's spoken to Elliot a couple times and is worried about him, but still want to know what she still wants to know what they read the letter.
Yes. Yeah.
So
what
true.
was in that note?
So true.
You got
I
to
need to know.
make up something, Felicia.
Write us a fanfic, Felicia.
I learned that
There are a lot of episodes about the military.
there are a lot of
let's just get
episodes
it out.
about the military. I knew that though. There's a lot of episodes about the military. No, I guess
Fair.
I learned that dang, I feel like I'm in class. Showing you in class and you can't think of anything. I don't know. I learned that I just
Felicia,
enjoyed this episode.
Would you like to speak to the rest of the class?
Yes. I learned that maybe in SVU, I enjoy format sometimes. I enjoy the format of it, and I can dig deeper into the other parts of it. But if the format is there, then I enjoy the episode, which is why I enjoyed this episode. That's what I learned.
That's fair. That's
Beautiful.
very fair.
Nicely done. All right. We'll tell you where to find the poll in just a second. But before we do, I'll remind people, because we went a little off the rails this episode. So
They went off the rails this episode.
I went off the rails.
Why am I grouped?
No, I meant they, like the show writers. Wow. Oh, wow.
I was like,
Y'all were
don't
not on the same
group me
team.
into
Wow. No, I meant the show writers.
Sorry. The writers went off the rails. I also went off the rails. So my point being, if you're in a situation and need help, I want to give you that hotline one more time just in case. It is 1-800-656-4673. 1-800-656-4673. 4673 spells hope. Yeah. So until next week, where we're going to be talking, I guess, about more hate groups. Until then, birthday girl Taylor, where are you on the internet?
I and the poll are on Twitter at alphabet_and I'm also on Instagram at Taylor_Gates_.
Thanks. Felicia, where are you on the internet?
I'm on Instagram at It's Felicia Michelle doing random stuff. Oh, I'm dropping my AirPods. Go ahead. Sorry.
Also, the link to her Instagram is now in the description below because I was not lazy this week. I'm Yael Tygiel. I'm everywhere at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL. If you are a fan of Wynonna Earp, the series finale, it seems, we're discussing it tomorrow over on Amber Plaster's YouTube channel. There was an amazing movie that came out this weekend called Thunder Force on Netflix. And it's so good. If you would love to see a review video for it, that is on this channel for FANVERSATION for Super Lady Hero Hour. We talked about it. I also wrote a little bit about the body positivity that is seen in it over on my blog, thefatgirlshow.com. And tomorrow I will be live on twitch.tv/Yael Tygiel playing is a loose term, trying to play Zelda. So you can check that out and make fun of me because that's what we do there. I think that's it. I think we're all cut up. Yep. All right. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Happy birthday, Taylor. See y'all next
Happy birthday, Taylor.